This month's theme is Love Actually. And Love Actually is a 2003 British film written and directed and produced by Richard Curtis that was rated as the 18th best Christmas film by the Oprah Daily in 2022. Turns out that this film is a little controversial. Both beloved and despised, sometimes simultaneously by the same person, a critic. We chose this theme, I think, because we wanted to end the year with a celebration around a little lighthearted holiday tidbit, since I think all four of us, Carl, Adele, Rashim, and I, were optimistic that comfort, joy, truth, and sanity were going to win the election, and we would all be relieved and eager to jump for joy and poke a little fun and ruminate on the lighter side of life and love. And, well, honestly, that's been a challenge for me since November 5th, so bear with me. Be generous and kind and patient tonight, and might I suggest, from here on forward into life. Because I believe that our biggest chance of getting through all this is love, actually. Okay, the movie. It starts with a voiceover. A narrator who says that when he gets gloomy about the state of the world, he thinks about the pure and uncomplicated love of lovers, friends, and families welcoming their loved ones at the Heathrow Airport. And, well, I don't know about you, but when and how does that exactly happen these days? Hugging and kissing at the arrival gate like we see in the movie, is that even allowed? In my world, we just pick each other up at the curb outside baggage, and you can't park the curb for more than a second. It's loading only. That leaves time for just a quick little hug. And anyway, I'm digressing, and I apologize. Full disclosure, I watched this movie for the first time on November 7th, hoping it would cheer me up. But it didn't. No. It kind of, I don't know, there are some good things in it. But something bugged me. And then a week later, a writer we had booked for tonight watched the film and said it was misogynistic and bailed on us. Hypersensitivity, perhaps. I suspect election backlash. Your body, my choice, all that. And I get it. I'm on her side. It's everywhere, but personally, I can't cave. In the face of my terror and devastating disappointment, I need to keep standing up, speaking out, because they want us to be sad and angry and to shut up, and I'm not doing it. So here tonight, because misogyny can so easily slip past us and will be on the rise now, in honor of our fallen, heart-sick, gutted writer and everyone like her, I'm going to put a spotlight on the misogyny found in Love Actually, and my deepest apologies to anyone for whom I ruined this film. Okay. After the opening airport scene, we switch to 9 vaguely interconnecting love stories of many people. Spoiler alert, not one woman in Love Actually is in a position of power, in the workplace or in a relationship. Ever heard of the Bechdel test? It's a set of criteria created by a graphic novelist in the 1980s named Bechdel, and it's used to evaluate a work of fiction based on its inclusion and representation of female characters. Its usual criteria are: 1, that at least 2 women are featured; 2, that these women talk to each other; and 3, that they discuss something other than a man. Love Actually barely passes the test via one story in which a woman and her daughter discuss the daughter's role as the lobster in the Christmas nativity play. Lobster in the... Yes. Okay, so here's a potpourri of the most blatant misogyny in Love Actually. Number 1. A kind of nothing kind of guy believes he's not getting laid in Britain because English women are stuck up, so he flies to America where he's heard women will screw anyone with an English accent. And apparently he's right, because he barely sits his ass down on a bar stool in Milwaukee when not one but four gorgeous, overtly sexual girls fall for his British accent and invite him to share their one bed where they sleep naked because they can't afford pajamas. And one of them follows him back to London. Number 2, then we have a sleazeball, garbage-mouth rock musician, Billy Mack, who promotes his horrible Christmas single by grotesquely gyrating in tight pants and plunging neckline and spouting tasteless, demeaning jokes about women, which somehow, inexplicably, propels the stupid song he calls solid gold shit to the top of the chart. Sort of like some guy who was propelled to the presidency in early November. Number 3. There's a man who deals with his secret love for his best friend's new wife, Juliet, by being rude to her, while covertly filming unsettling close-ups of her at their wedding. And then later, he comes to their house, and while his best friend is inside on the couch, he's out on the doorstep declaring his forever devotion for Juliet with these creepy cue cards. That end with, "To me, you are perfect." Pedestal, anyone? And then he gets rewarded when Juliet chases him down the street and kisses him. This is just low-key stalking at best. Then we have the prime minister who falls for his new and subservient assistant, Natalie, and then wants to fire her for being too tempting, and sort of disses her when the American president comes on to her. That's bad. But worse is the fabricated fat shaming. This is the actual conversation the prime minister has with his secretary about Natalie. The secretary asks, "The chubby girl?" Prime Minister: "Would we call her chubby?" Secretary: "I think there's a pretty sizable ass there. Yes, sir. Huge thighs." Yes. Later, Natalie's father calls her plump, and not in an affectionate way, more like it's some tragic flaw she'll never get over. And for the record, she's not plump or chubby. And even if she were, so what? Everybody needs to shut their mouths about that. It's not relevant or funny. Another story is about a woman with a 2-year crush on her office colleague, which finally leads to a romantic encounter that is derailed when the woman's mentally ill brother calls just as the two are getting all sexy. Unfortunately, when the sexy man suggests that the woman ignore her brother's call because, well, she can't really help but fix her brother, can she? And she chooses to answer her brother's call anyway, and the sexy man leaves, and that's the end of it. Basically. That's sex, actually. Then we have the man who takes his accomplished, radiant wife for granted and throws their marriage down the toilet for a brief fling with an over-the-top secretary whose seduction tactics include licking her lips and rubbing her pussy and telling him to buy her presents. He falls for this, and his excuse when he's busted is he was foolish. So lame. So, okay, you get it. It's obviously a flawed piece. There's sexual harassment, a dearth of female dialogue, fat jokes, romanticized stalking, all of which are pretty awful, but I have to admit, there's also some really gorgeous moments and some outstanding acting, like when the soulful, understated Emma Thompson, playing the woman who is betrayed by her husband, cries silently while pacing her bedroom. And there's the complexity of the story about the woman with the mentally ill brother, her actual love for her brother, the difficulty of having a relationship under those conditions. It's heart-wrenching. I just wish the filmmakers had humanized the man and had made him come through for her. And the best line of the movie comes from a 10-year-old boy who is bonding with his father over trying to get the girl. He says, "Let's go get the shit kicked out of us by love." That's cool. This movie is a fantasy about simpler times, when we could meet our loved ones at the gate at the airport, and maybe even run through the airport and jump the gate like the little boy Sam does in this movie and not immediately get shot in the head. Or a politician could be a main character and not be political. Just a guy in love trying his best. Simpler times before all of it. So this year, in this winter of our electoral disconnect, while waiting for the next shoe to drop, let's try not to be too critical of ourselves or each other. Although we need to stay vigilant and call things as we see them, we must also refuse to turn on each other. Don't point fingers. Don't blame anyone for the way the election turned out or condemn them for liking a silly, less than perfect movie like Love Actually. We need to loosen up and find the humanity, humor, joy, and love in everything and everyone that we, in actuality, encounter. Because I'm saying it again, it just might be those things, especially love, that will save us, actually.